All right, good evening and welcome to North Reach Council of Crowns meeting. Tonight is November 5th, 2017. So with us we have monarchs from Astral Winds, Ravenstone, Frozen Coast, Lupin Moon, and then myself as King and Haviland as Prime Minister. Has everybody logged into the agenda so they know what we're chatting about?
Yes.
Has anybody not done that, I guess would be more appropriate. Okay. Does anybody want to add anything to the agenda? Speak now or forever hold your peace. I'm just kidding. You can bring some up later if something comes to mind. All right. Well, in order to not keep everybody waiting, we're just going to start right up here. So first thing on the agenda is the October All Thing results and an update on the online All Thing pilot. So really it's more of a discussion. Does anybody have any thoughts or comments or questions or criticisms or ideas or anything about that particular project?
I think it went really well. There was loads of discussion between members of, across the kingdom, as opposed to just each park discussing amongst themselves, which was, after all, the goal. And I liked Facebook as a medium because it helped encourage that discussion. The voting on Facebook left something to be desired, but I'm not really sure what would be a better alternative.
Okay, well, how about, let's see, without having to, like, say, imagine a new medium, what specific attributes of the Facebook vote do you think were the most challenging?
I don't like not being able to lock the poll. I think the method of screenshotting is just kind of clunky, but it works. The only time I could see that being problematic is if someone decided to change their vote while you were taking screenshots. It would cause a minor amount of confusion.
Yeah.
But aside from that, it works.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose if we wanted to look for something where we could lock it like that, we'd have to weigh that against the fact that whatever medium we use would probably be less accessible than Facebook, since all of our members pretty much get that to their phones. So did anybody see any sort of like deal breakers or any flaws with the pilot that need to be addressed before the next All Thing?
I just wanted to note that it doesn't update in real time, the Facebook poll. So you have to refresh for each time to see the updated version of it. So some people had different numbers. Plus there was pictures of people's faces, then plus 12 or something like that, and really it would be 14.
That caused a
little bit of confusion, but that's not a problem. That's just a user error more than anything.
Okay, I didn't know about the refreshing thing on mine. It sort of automatically does that. I suppose that may not be the same across all platforms, huh? Okay, so I guess that's just something that if people are aware of, that might be more of an education thing, hopefully.
I was pretty happy that we only had 2 people participate in the vote that were not eligible to do that. I was kind of thinking that there might have been more people that had to be sort of weeded out of that. So that was, I thought that was good. I also liked that it gave me the opportunity to know maybe who thought they should have been eligible, and then the opportunity to follow up with them. Because I could just say hey, I saw you participated in this, and you're not currently a regular member, and each of them was just that they hadn't paid their dues. So that's an easy thing for them to fix. Although one also didn't meet attendance. But it gave for an opportunity for some good education.
Is anybody not comfortable continuing for this next All Thing? We good moving forward?
What is the topic of our next All Thing?
Whatever we decide.
Okay.
I've got one agenda item that has to deal with some of Hadeland's absences coming up, so that she doesn't get booted from office, unless the All Thing wants her to be.
I think we should move forward, but I might switch my opinion if what we're voting on is super controversial. So.
Fair enough. The only controversial thing in our future right now would be the budget, but that's not until February. So that won't be a part of this unless the all thing decides that it will be. So, question for the council: since this pilot lasts only 2 months, and then after that we go back to regular all things, I guess would be the transition. Do we want to have a traditional all thing to decide whether or not to continue with this format, or do we want to use the online format?
I would like to use the online format.
That'd be a good. I think that'd be a good way to go forward too. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we hear you.
I think the people that disagree with the online format would not like us to vote on an online format using the online format.
Okay. Do we know if those people are out there? I mean, I guess we can. Well, let me see here. Let me think. Even with the online format, people still have the option of voting in person, right? So, I mean, the fact that, I don't know, do you think that format would disenfranchise people, like they would not vote, or?
I don't think anyone wouldn't vote. I don't know. I see a potential for people who, I just saw a potential for, people who didn't agree with the online format to be like, well.
Right.
I saw a potential for people to think it was problematic.
I prefer the in-person one too, just for the switchover, because I don't think it makes much sense to use a different format to confirm if we want to use a different format. I just feel like it's a margin for people to complain about if it doesn't go their way.
Okay. Well, I don't really care either way. To me, it seems a little weird to go back to the less communicative method, but that is our standard way of doing it, so there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Did anybody or how did everybody handle the in-person sort of all thing portion of it? I didn't have any in-person votes reported to me. And did anybody have like their regular bring it in and make that available?
I know here in Frozen Coast, I brought up the all thing, had to bring it in and give people the opportunity to discuss it amongst themselves or online. Most people who opted to discuss it online.
I know in Ravenstone, we brought it in saying that people are eligible to vote in person if they can't do it online. And so we gave them that option as well.
Good.
Okay. That's awesome. Because I think that's part of it. Like if people know they still have the option to do it in person. And then of course I just need to know that that's, that people have done that in person. Then I need to verify that they haven't also voted through the Facebook option as well. So I didn't proactively seek that out from each of you to, say like, did you have in-person votes? I was assuming that if you had some, you'd report them to me, but in the future I can be more proactive on that as well.
Yeah, let's make sure we push that next month. And so it sounds like the council splits. So let's just plan on the December all thing. Potentially having, it'll be an in-person all thing for the December all thing, and then potentially having an all thing item to decide whether or not we want to continue doing online all things. So, so the one item on the October all thing agenda was officers and paying, and results were for officers not paying. So that all thing item is passed. Now it's sort of up to us as the executive council to figure out how to implement the will of the all thing in this. So discussion time. Anybody have any thoughts on how to get that whole thing rolling? We just pull the trigger right now and just say, don't worry about it, officers.
Well, we could just bring it up to a local, bring it in, and just tell everybody, hey, this passed. And we're making it free for the officers while they're in a rain for their local parks.
Okay.
Hadelin, have you made an announcement already? I think you have, right? Or it might have just been in the comment of the vote.
Yeah.
In the vote, yeah.
Yeah, I verified results as a comment in that vote post after the screenshots were posted. Typically, I would post the screenshots, but I was boarding a flight and wasn't able to do it that evening. But I did verify the results and posted that. So I didn't make a separate announcement. Maybe
we would. I wanted to wait until after the council had a chance to review everything before we made any big announcement.
As far as I'm concerned, we don't really have to like formally like announce it or tell people. Like it just seems like it passed, and people don't have to pay anymore.
Yeah, I was mostly wanted to chat about like timelines or effective dates. Is this like an effective immediately thing? Do we need to make some adjustments? I don't know. I just wanted to sort of chat about how we want to implement it.
I was under the impression that it would be an effective immediately thing, and I told my officers they didn't have to pay this week. If that's my fault, you know, if I was wrong.
No, I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page is all.
Okay.
My one concern with effective immediately, would we have to amend the budget for the difference in income, or can we leave it as is since our income from site fees is a rough estimate anyway?
The income from site fees is a rough estimate, and right now we're exceeding our income to cost ratio on the parks that pay. So there's really no change to the budget, at least not a significant one. So it wouldn't necessarily require the whole budget amendment process. Plus, the all things already approved this. So that is sort of what you do for a budget amendment anyway. But if you guys think we need to handle it by going back to people and double checking to make sure they are okay with that decision, I'm not really sure what additional processes would be necessary.
I was more just going from the perspective of, from like the state's perspective, do we need to amend our budget if we make it like that will directly affect our income? I didn't know, since our income's a direct estimate, I would assume we can make small changes and not have to amend anything.
Yeah, normally I think that the budget amendment process might be appropriate if we were making a council decision. But since, we're just doing what the all thing told us to do, that we probably don't need to go back to the all thing for confirmation.
Okay, with that in mind, I think effective immediately is the way to go.
Okay, as long as everyone's on the same page, just want to make sure. Cool. Any other thoughts or comments on the all thing topic, or the online all things in general? Okay, cool. We're gonna move on then. The next thing on the agenda is the November all thing. Does anybody have anything for the November all thing that they would like to see on it? All right, so right now the only agenda item I have for the November all thing is excusing some absences for Hadeland at the beginning of the term when she had to go drive through Canada. So for those that are keeping track at home, the November all thing will be November 18th through the 26th. And even though we only have to give a week's notice for all thing items, I kind of like it spanning 2 weekends. I think that's the best way to get the word out to everybody. So we'll do that next month as well. Anything further on the November all thing? Okay. So the next thing then is the budget. I don't want to take a huge chunk of the meeting to go over the budget tonight. I just wanted to let the council know that the committee is done with the budget. You guys should all have access to it. So before our next meeting, please take some time to review it. Write down your thoughts or ideas or notes or anything like that on the budget, and we will discuss it a little more in depth at our next COC meeting. The budget process, we have to present the budget in January to the membership, so we've got 6 weeks to finalize it before we hit that deadline. So our timeline is good. We have plenty of time to get it done and get it right. If you haven't looked over the budget very closely, just a rough estimate right now, the budget as is presented in its initial draft form shows $48,970 of expenses and $49,150 of anticipated income. So take a look and dig into that. If you have questions, you can hit up any of the committee members, myself, Hadeland, and we can try and straighten things out. If you notice any errors or anything in there, please bring them to my attention. Any questions or comments on the budget? All right, we're going to move on then. So I've been chatting with, I chatted with a couple different parks during their mid-reigns, and I wanted to talk to the council a little bit here. So we've always had and benefited from having sort of a Northreach wide goal or focus, right? Initially, it was sort of becoming a principality, and then it was working towards kingdom and things like that. Well, we've sort of achieved all of those benchmarks, and right now we don't have a kingdom-wide focus. So I have 9 months left in my term, and during those 9 months, I would like to focus on fundraising. So there's a couple of really big projects that I'm going to do my best to start the ball rolling on before I step down from office. And the biggest one is the purchase of land for Northreach, and eventually develop it into our own event grounds, so that we can start to develop it, set it up however we want, build a castle if we want, build a feast hall, do whatever we want with it, essentially, to make our own event grounds. And we were looking at some hype pitches for that. Hadeland came up with the fantastic hashtag stomping grounds for Reggie, and we're going to be working on that. So what I need from you guys as members of the council is I need you to go back to your people, talk to them about, if you look at what our budget is, we have a lot of expenses and we have a lot of income, but a good portion of that income still comes from internal sources. And I would like us all to go back to our people and start some roundtable discussions about how we can shift that fundraising from internal sources to external sources. Okay, how do we get other organizations or other people to pay for AmpGuard for us so that we can have not just our officers playing for free, but everybody playing for free, or at least at as cheap a rate as we can possibly get them. So we also have, in this year's budget, we took a different approach to how we set up the fundraisers, and instead of giving like each fundraiser its own budget for making swords or whatever, we just have a statewide budget for that. So the goal will be to make as many swords as we can and then sell them at whatever events are available for us to sell them at, which means we need lots of those kinds of events, and they don't have to be big. Also have a pretty good formula for making money with a boffer fighting ring. That's worked at just about every event we've put it at. It costs us very little. And so we need events like that across all of the regions. So I think the area with the greatest potential for improvement would definitely be Astral Winds. I think there's a lot of opportunities there. The community has got all kinds of crazy stuff going on, particularly in the summer, that we could benefit from if we can sort of mobilize forces in that direction. Icefire Bay is another one where they don't do a ton of fundraising, although I think their opportunities are a little more limited than Fairbanks for sure. But I think there's a lot of smaller events that we could be looking at, or larger events that we've never tackled. Like, and we've got a whole other section of the agenda to chat about it. But for example, like Hadeland mentioned Ferrandi, which could be a cool event for us to do stuff. We may not like do a lot of boffer stuff there, but we can definitely get a lot of advertising. And so more people also means more dues, and more people sort of shouldering the internal load, which helps to lower that cost a little bit. But I need all of you guys to just start this conversation with your folks and your members and say how can your region participate in the fundraising activities to to develop the stomping grounds. Ultimately, I'd like to have multiple parcels of land across the state so we can have our own event areas all over the place. If we set those up and manage them correctly, they can actually be income. Probably we can, if we have a really cool event / camping site, we can rent it out to all kinds of people when we're not using it, which would be really cool. Because all those places that we spend money at to rent so that we have a place to play, we could be that person. So Stomping Grounds is sort of my push for the next 9 months. And the more support I get from you guys, the more successful that will be. So I wanted to share that with you guys and see if you had any questions on it.
I think that's an excellent goal and a great step, I think, for Northreach and AmpGuard. I think a really important one to take as well, to see us going forward like that is actually kind of awesome to me. With the fundraising and focusing on getting other regions to do it as well, I think it'd be really nice. I know a lot of the Loop and Mooners who are normally a part of it are starting to kind of wear thin on that kind of stuff. And if we could see a little bit of a relief on our side of things, I think that would be really, and I'm not trying to say other people aren't pushing, but just like a lot of the, and I'm talking about very internally because I talk to all of the people because I'm normally at the fundraising events. I'm seeing a little bit of burnout on our side of things. So just to see that kind of dispersed makes me happy to know that that's what we're going to be pushing for over the next 9 months.
Yeah, I mean, Loop and Moon has definitely been at the heart of the fundraising that Northreach has done, collectively over the last few years. They sort of started the trend before there was Northreach. And I think that if we work together as a council, there's a lot of ways that we can help to shoulder that load because, like Frozen Coast may not have the sheer number of opportunities, but they could also be getting people together and making swords. And then when they get transported up to Loop and Moon, then Loop and Moon can work their butts off to sell them at the Ren Fair, like that sort of thing. So I think we can take a collaborative approach to the fundraising to really help raise some funds. Any other thoughts on Stomping Grounds? All right. Anybody think that sucks as an idea? We should do something different? I'm always open to suggestions, but that's one of the things I've talked about for a while. So unless there's anything else that's more compelling, that's where I'm going to put my energy. All right. Quick update on the online Reeves test. It is in alpha testing right now. We found a online host, and the Reeves Council is working together to come up with questions and put it all together in a format that I'm happy with. And so they're working on that right now. The goal is to try and have everything ready for the next election cycle. So, oh, you know what? That reminds me. There will be something on the All Thing next month. You guys let me know if you feel this is too controversial for our beta test, but we need to have an All Thing vote if we want to have Reeves tests be open book, which is sort of a requirement if we're going to do online Reeves tests. Unless we're going to proctor them, we won't be able to tell if someone has a book in front of them. And personally, I don't see any problems with an online Reeves test or with an open book Reeves test. But that's something that has to go through All Thing because that would be a change to the bylaws or the admin manual, I mean.
I think it would actually probably be more beneficial to have it online, so we have that discussion going on across parks about what's going on. At the very least, we could open up the discussion for it, and if maybe the council here decides that it is too controversial, we can at least open the topic online, just so we can see that kind of that topic going, the topic going through, and then we can bring it to our own parks.
Well, let me start here. Does anybody feel like that's an inappropriate topic to put in our online pilot?
No.
Okay. All right. Then that's going to be on the All Thing next month as well, so that we can move forward with that. The election cycle starts, the end of December, so we want to make people be able to take their online Reeves tests. One of the things that I'm going to try and incorporate once we get that up and running, and maybe Deli would appreciate this, but I think we can also set it up to do level tests and set it up in such a fashion that people's tests are recorded and they can take them ahead of time if they want to. So there would be one place to go to see all of the level tests that somebody has passed. And we could do that online. It would be super easy. And if somebody wants to take all the level tests for all the classes, go for it. I mean, test scores don't go bad, I guess, right?
There are multiple kingdoms with these already like implemented, or not, or they have them, but they haven't put them into like click this bubbles or whatever. More like questions you ask your guild master that we can just copy and paste.
Okay. Yeah, I think an online solution would work really well for the kingdom, and help us keep track of all of it without any extra effort, really. Is everybody cool with that? So once the online Reeves test is up and running and it looks like all the kinks have been worked out and it's a format that the council thinks is good and we want to keep, then that may be the next project I give to the Reeves Council to develop those level tests. And I could have the Reeves meet with their local GMRs and stuff to help develop questions. So cool. Any other thoughts or questions or comments on the online Reeve test? Okay. So we've got some upcoming events that I wanted to chat. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Luke.
Do you know off the top of your head what service it is that we're going to be using to host the online Reeves test?
It's called
Does this
Classmarker? One of those two.
Okay. Yeah.
We've got
off the top
a
of it allows for the pool of 100 questions and just pull a random 25 of them.
Yep, and once it's in beta testing, Blue, once they've actually got it in the format that I've asked them for, I will include you in there as the beta tester and give you all of the credentials to log in and stuff to the administrator side. Anything else on that topic? Okay, so upcoming events. I'm going to try and get the discussion rolling on these so we can plan as far in advance as possible. Some of them are coming up quicker than I would like, but we got to figure out if we want to do something at them, and if so, then I'll put out requests for bids and stuff. Some of these are smaller and could probably just be handled regionally, which is totally fine. The first one is Yuki Fest. Kraken, when is Yuki Fest? Is it January?
Yes, I got January 27th.
Okay. Well, that's the week before Dungeon Crawl.
I mean, if we want to handle that locally, I've been in contact with the coordinators over at Yuki Fest. They actually came to our games and observed the games and asked us to come and do some demos for the FS.
Good. Does anybody on the council have any issues with Ravenstone just spearheading that regionally? All right. Hearing nothing, Kraken, I appoint you autocrat of Yuki Fest. Knock it out of the park.
Cool beans. Will get us a lot of people in.
Sweet. Deli, what are the details for PopCon?
It's next weekend. It's in our like lobby where we eat food. Bunch of anime nerds come together and cosplay and walk around to vendors. In the past, we've had a booth there, and we've gotten a lot of people to come because usually it happens like before AmpGuard starts, so that's pretty cool. So we're like, hey, go this way, and they run all down to the hill to U Park.
Well, you guys gonna do something at PopCon?
Yeah, we're gonna mostly advertisement. We're just gonna
sure.
Show them what a foam sword is, let them hit each other and talk about it. It's $40 to have the booth, which I don't think was there last year, but
okay.
Oh well, it's $40.
Yeah, we can totally pay for that.
I don't know how that reimbursement goes through. Should I just pay for it myself and then talk to Hadelin, or
with the only 1 week notice? That'd probably be the easiest way to do that if you're comfortable with it.
In the future, what should we do?
Well, we just decided what we want to do as a council, and once we voted on it, we figure out which budget would be appropriate to pull the money out of, and then Hadelin can just call them and pay for it, or reimburse, or however.
Okay.
The other thing that you can do is work with Carly, and I can just transfer the money into the Astro Winds account.
Sure.
And she can pull it from petty cash, or I have the Northreach card, so I can just call them and pay, or you can pay for it and fill out the Northreach reimbursement form, and I'll get the money to you.
I think I'll do the last option. I feel like it's the simplest and easiest.
Okay.
We've got options.
Yep.
So okay, so the next let's see. I'm trying to do these in the order of when they're gonna happen. So regional crown calls, everybody, it's going to come up quick. So I need to make sure everybody understands the timeline for that. But crown calls is in January. Okay. So please, all of you, over the next week or two, please review that section of the admin manual. The timeline is laid out in there. Make sure you guys know what's going on. If any of you are not running for a second term, then you're responsible for crown calls. If you are running for a second term, you're responsible for making sure that the next person knows that they're responsible for crown calls and that they understand all the rules for it.
I have a slight hitch in the crown call things on our end. Everybody who's in office in Ravenstone wants to run for office again. I was going to actually bring it up to the Council of Crowns and see what point do we get someone else involved.
That doesn't sound like a problem, Kraken.
Well, it's
like
not a problem. I'm happy. I'm excited.
That's actually a good time to have somebody involved. So one of the options, and Helen just mentioned, is Malik. I tend to avoid having the Prime Minister involved in crown calls, unless there's literally like no other option. In the past, that's where it would have fallen on before we had kingdom level officers. But I think that we can have a kingdom level officer step in and run your crown calls.
Also, it's the highest level officer that's not involved runs crown calls. So
Right.
if someone who's currently an officer is running for GMR, they can run crown calls, can't they?
Yes, your GMR could run crown calls, absolutely, because they don't have to answer crown calls.
Okay, so I can have like Mordred run crown calls since he's.
Yep, and one of us would be happy to step in and help him.
And if he really wants to enter crown calls for like Hydra or like just wants to show off his art or something, you should just tell him to send it to Lupin Moon. That might
Yeah,
work.
you can totally do that. If for some reason he can't be there, then I or Grim or somebody will step in and help run crown calls.
Oh, cool beans.
Yep, we got your back.
Yeah.
So everybody, make sure that you're on top of your monthly crown cycle stuff, and I think we're supposed to have the information for crown calls at mid-reign, which is passed. So get the information together and post it to your populace as soon as possible. And that's just where it's going to be held, when it's going to be held, any funky rules that you're going to have, like when written entries need to be due, etc. If you're going to do booze, like vintners off-site, that sort of thing, communicate it well in advance so that everybody's got as much of a heads up as possible. Okay, so the next thing after that would be Grand Academy. I'm going to put out the request for bid this week. Would you guys like to see a draft of it before I submit it out, or are you guys okay with me just putting it out? I'm fine either way. It won't hurt my feelings. Are you guys interested?
I would look at it, but I would think that the soonest we can get it out, the sooner we can get it someone to run, because I honestly want to see Grand Academy, and I'm excited for it.
Okay. I've had a
Can you
couple.
throw it up on the Facebook page and we'll just comment there?
I'm sorry, Blue. I walked all over you. Please go ahead.
Could you throw it up on the Facebook page so that we can comment there?
Absolutely. I'll tell you what. Once I get the draft where I'm happy with it, I'll give you guys 24 hours to play with it.
Sweet.
If that works for y'all. And then we'll post it out. And I've had a couple of people approach me about running it, and they would be super good at it. So I'm very excited. I think that we can have a really good Grand Academy this year. And I think that it's been long enough since the last one that probably 99% of our members, it would be a new thing for them, and that could be really cool. So, let's see. So then after that is obviously Dungeon Crawl. We've got our CRAT team in place for that, so we're just letting them handle it. And then we've got Solstice War coming up. I'd like to put a request for bid out for that before Dungeon Crawl. I'd like to have the Autocrat set for that before Dungeon Crawl so we can advertise it at Dungeon Crawl. And then, of course, we have 3 Barons and Northreach Crown Calls coming up after that. So let's keep those on the radar. And we'll be looking for some Autocrats for Solstice War and 3 Barons.
So on that matter, I had a member just message me. He wants to see us to do something with, what was it? The one that's in Eagle River right after 3 Barons.
Okay. Well, lucky for you, Kraken, the next item on the agenda is new events. So we've actually put a substantial line item in next year's budget for new events. Or just miscellaneous event budgets. So there are a lot of smaller events, and what you're talking about is the Bear Paw Festival, I believe.
Yes, and the Highland Games also.
Yes, and those are events that are small enough that they don't need their own like individual line item budget. But we should definitely be doing those, especially if all it takes is like $50 and 2 people to just sit there for a day, and then we show up with 200 swords and we run a fighting arena, and we make a few $100s. Those are great events for community outreach, for making a little bit of money, and for just establishing ourselves. So we will absolutely do those events. What I need from you guys, and this is something that you guys can put together between now and the next meeting or next 2 meetings, is I need a list of regional events that you guys would like to add to the calendar this year. So go back to your people, talk to them, and say, hey, what kind of cool events happen during the year that Amtgard could potentially benefit from being at? We have some really cool events. I mean, we have like Symposium that we've never done, which is, yeah, it's all steampunk, but it's all costumers. And I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff there, and it's definitely our demographic. The Bear Paw Festival, the Highland Games. The Highland Games actually happens more than once. And there's one down in the peninsula too, isn't there?
Yep. There's one in Homer.
One in Homer. So we could do all of those. We could even do the Forest Fair out in Girdwood, which is a giant hippie festival, but there's a lot of people there that would be very interested in what we're doing. So those are, I mean, things that we want to do. I've actually thought about putting together a demo circuit for dojos around town, and just taking a few people and just going around and being like, hey, I know you guys like to punch each other in the face, but have you ever thought about hitting somebody with a foam bat? And we've started to build up a solid group of members who are all enthusiastic martial artists, and I think that, that there's an untapped demographic there that we could get people from. So that's something that we can look at as well. So we're already 40 minutes into this meeting, so I don't want to spend a ton of time brainstorming new events. I'd like you guys to do that offline and bring a list with you to the next meeting or two. And let's add some events and see if we can get some of these little events going. These would also be incredibly awesome opportunities for people that want to autocrat an event but think that like the state fair is really scary, whereas the Highland Games wouldn't be because they're just 1 or 2 days or whatever. So it's a really good gateways for our organizers and our roses. So any thoughts on that? Anybody have any burning desire to talk about a new event right now that couldn't wait?
I actually have one. Cassie was talking with me. So the 23rd of December, we Loop and Moon won't be meeting at our typical place. We won't be having games that day at all. So she was talking with me about doing a Christmas get-together with the White Elephant, and then she was wanting to add like a special flair to it, kind of like a Bardic A&S. So it would be an A&S competition in essence, where it would focus mainly on songs and tales, and we'd have the White Elephant, and depending on location, we might have a potluck. But if we're at a restaurant, obviously we would buy food from them and not bring our own. And that's something that is coming up obviously fairly quick. And I said that would be okay. And we would, we're looking for, her and I are looking around right now for a free place. If we can't find one, then discuss that on another note. Sorry about this, I'm slightly distracted. But that's something we were brainstorming, getting for December 23rd to get rolling.
Okay. I'll be honest, all I heard was Loop and Moon Karaoke Christmas.
I'm in.
That's what it is. That's she called it, what is it? Peasants Got Talent?
that's much better. Yeah, regional social events are always greenlit, man. Just make them happen. If you need anything from us, just let us know. All I know is that I'll be there.
I'm so looking forward to Christmas now when this For Christmas.
So,
Yeah.
so
Ravenstone, you got to get on this, man.
well, something similar to that. We in Ravenstone have been talking about. We wanted to do a white elephant also, but we also wanted to do a Toys for Tots events because I know before in the past we've done a Principality when we were a Principality wide event where we had a Toys for Tots tournament, and I would love to be able to see that happen again. I'm willing to donate my own money to get prizes ready for this, and get this going in the kingdom.
We definitely don't need to donate money. That sort of defeats the purpose. But I think that we can come up with some really cool stuff.
I think that when we did this in the past, there is a fairly early deadline for dropping the toys off. I want to say like that first weekend in December.
Yeah, it's pretty early.
So I know last year what we ran into was an issue where we waited too long to get it going, and logistically we just couldn't swing it. So now is probably a time to, if we want to do this, hit it hard and
I'll tell you
organize
what.
it soon.
Here's what I will do. If Kraken, if you want to like organize this on behalf of the council, if you want to do something for maybe late November, that'd be a good timeline for collecting the toys.
Yeah.
Every region could host Toys for Tots tourney, and I wonder, are you thinking like just a regular like fighting tournament?
Yeah, just a standard tournament. It's like those dollar tournaments they do in the lower 48. You submit a toy, you get into the list on the tournament, and you just do like a round robin or an Iron Man style tournament. And I can make a little shield as a tournament. I win a prize for the winner, and I give one to each region. And I think it would be a great little thing.
Okay. No, I think it would be awesome. I'm just trying to think of the best way to do it. All right, so here's what we'll do. I'll put together a list of prizes. I'll reach out to some folks and see if I can get some donations. And what I will do is I will give first place prizes to every region based on how many toys or money they raise.
Ooh.
So the region who raises the most money, their first place competitor will get the first grand prize, and then so on and so on.
That sounds awesome.
And I'll probably make it one of the artifacts from the relics from the rule books.
Bring it.
And I might hand out a couple of relics. I could probably throw a white bear gift certificate. I could maybe talk to Warlord Sports and see if they're interested in donating anything. They like to do that for fighting tournaments. So I will come up with some prizes over the next week or two. But if you want to start organizing stuff with the council members, you might want to get with the Council of War, and then schedule a date, like one weekend for this to happen, and then start communicating it as soon as possible because people got to know.
I'll write up something tonight, and tomorrow morning I'll call the Toys for Tots people and get everything written up and ready to go.
That sounds amazing. Good job, Kraken. We'll do what we can to support you.
I do this because I love Northreach.
Sweet, man. Let's get some toys out to some kids and, I don't know, pass out some relics for people.
Sweetness.
All right. All right, so I'm going to move on to regional concerns. Astrowinds, you got any regional concerns?
No, actually. Like, we had 36 people yet last week, and despite
Nice.
everyone canceling from Loop and Moon. So, yeah. We've been doing pretty well, actually. I'm happy for us.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. 36 is a good number. Like, way to rebound. That's solid. All right, Ravenstone, you guys got any regional concerns?
No, everything's great. We're slowly increasing our populace. We got 28 sign-ins today, even though we had our first snow. Well,
Yeah, roads were nasty today.
yeah, and with all those rash snows, we had a great turnout, and we're having talks about more people coming out. So hopefully we can hit that 30 threshold.
Good, man. Good. Great job, man. Ravenstone, you guys are kicking butt, too. Luke Moon, you guys got any regional concerns?
Nope, just the Peasants Got Talent, which tune into the next chopping block because we're going to have that as the going to do some advertising there featuring your boy. So right at the beginning, Me and Jack are working, put a little bit of advertisement together. Advertising here, obviously. I would love to see as many of you guys out there as I can, as we can, to get that going. But besides that, I'm excited too, man. But yeah, besides that, nothing really.
Well, I'm gonna put together some video intros and stuff for that. We're gonna take some videos. It's gonna be awesome. All right, Pros and Coast, you guys got any regional concerns?
I don't have any regional concerns, but I did have one question for Hadeland, which was, what is the current status of the bank account switch thing?
You guys noticed that, was it yesterday or whatnot, I made the comment that our state paperwork had been updated. I ran into the issue. I had the appointment to go down to the bank to get our accounts open with Denali. And because our state paperwork was not up to date, we didn't have the correct officers who were in office actually listed as in office with the state. So that was one of the things that necessitated getting that caught up to date. So I was not able to open the accounts when I had my appointment previously. As of yesterday, that has been all updated on the state website. And so now I can go down there and have the right people, which would be Gordon and myself, sign on the accounts to get them opened.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I leave for a week to be out of state on Tuesday evening. And so it is unlikely that I will have the opportunity to get that addressed before I'm gone for that week. And so it will be on my list of things to do when I return to the state.
Okay.
And also, just as a general update, we were waiting on the same things for 501c3. And we were waiting on the board to finalize the vice president vote, because that's a required officer to list on the paperwork.
Yeah.
So all that stuff's moving forward here the week after Huddling gets back. So by the middle of the month, we'll have all of that stuff taken care of.
Got all our paperwork ducks in a row now.
Yay, ducks. All right. Ice Fire Bay is not present. So does anybody else have anything for the council? All right. Hearing nothing, I will go ahead and call this meeting adjourned. Thank you guys for your time, and have a great night.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good